Well, gee, Speedy, you're on the right track. The first thing you got to do is seek out that information and ask questions. Now, as far as getting up to the level where I am and Elder Yehuda, I'm probably mispronouncing that, is that if I said, if I had to look at a scale between 1 and 10, I would say I'm probably at a comfortable 8. As far as Elder Yehuda being prepared, I would say on a scale of 1 to 10, he's 110. This dude, man, he is just, he's prepared for just about anything. I think he's quite comfortable with everything he has. But to start out with, you need to follow not just me, not just Elder Yehuda. You need to find as many survivalists and preppers on there because we all don't prep the same. We all don't have the same skills. We all don't have the same weaknesses. You need to just flood yourself with as many followers as you can get and continue to ask questions. Now, as far as being taught, you have to keep in mind that all of our information doesn't fit everyone because our lifestyles are different. The area we live in is different. The environmental conditions that we live in are different. So everyone's different about how they have to prepare. So keep that in mind. Also, one of the biggest things I try to tell people is even though you may like something I've got that I'm using, if you can't use it, if you don't need it, don't buy it. And if you do buy something, don't buy something that you're going to stick on the shelf and forget about it. Personally, I don't buy anything unless I can use it now and after shit hits the fan. Because if you stick it on the shelf, there's a chance that it may not work when you need it. And there's a even bigger chance that when you need it, you're probably going to forget about it. And never, ever overspend. Never spend money you don't have. Your first priority is to your family, to make sure you and them have a roof over your head, that your rent, your mortgage, whatever it is up to date, that your car note's paid. Whatever bill you have, you got to put that bill first. And whatever little money you have left over, then you can put towards your prepping. I do have a little tutorial that I like to teach that actually fits the general population and will teach you how to get started and show you what your needs are and your weaknesses are. In order to set you up and teach you how to start preparing and finding your strengths and weaknesses, the first thing that you need to do is get a notebook and a pencil or a pen. And I say a notebook, not your telephone, not a computer, something that you can walk around and write on so that the information isn't lost, because you're going to be using this notebook to put other information in as well later on. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to take that notebook and think about things, items, food, water, everything you would need for you and your family to survive if you were stuck in your home for the next 48 hours. And I don't care if you live in an apartment, a trailer, whatever it is. It works for all of these. Just walk around and think, if we were stuck in here for 48 hours, what do we need? We don't have any running water. If we didn't have any electricity, then I know I got to stock up on water. I know I've got to stock up on foods that don't need to be cooked, or I need to stock up on something to cook with. And I would also suggest if you live in an apartment, I would be very careful of purchasing camping stoves and stuff like that, because you don't want to use something that's going to suck up the oxygen in your home. You got to make sure that it's whatever it is you buy to cook with can be used indoors as well. Now, if they'll go along with it, you need to get the family involved also and say, hey, explain to them that if we lost water and electricity for 48 hours stuck in the house, what do you think you would need to make yourself comfortable? What about lighting? Well, if you got small kids, you don't want to stock up on candles, because you don't want to take the chance of some child running around with a lit candle or knocking a candle off and causing a fire. So think about something like this. Light sticks. If they're going to be in the dark, buy a bag of these and give them a few of them. Let them crack them open and use these at night. These things are really nice. It actually put off a lot of light for a lot of hours. But this is just a mindset you got to get into. And once you have this list compiled, then what you're going to do, and if everybody's on board, you're going to get them together and say, look, we're going to plan this date to shut the electricity off and shut the water off for 48 hours. Now that you've got it scheduled, the time arrives that you and your family will go for 48 hours staying at home without the use of electricity and running water. So what you want to do, go to your breaker box, your panel box, and you do not want to trip the main breaker. Do not trip the main breaker. What you are going to do is you're simply going to trip the breakers that you're not going to need. We're going to shut the water heater off. We're going to shut the stove off. We're going to shut the kitchen lights off. I got a septic tank. We're going to shut that off. I got a well. We're going to shut that off. The microwave. And we're just going to go down the list and start shutting all this off. The washer, the heating and air conditioning, the dryers, we're going to shut down. But what we are not going to do is we are not going to shut the refrigerator off or anything that might be important to our health, such as CPAP machine, something like that. We don't want to go that far. We don't want to ruin the food that we have in our refrigerator or freezer, so don't shut any of that off. We don't want to use our receptacles. We don't want to use running water. We don't want to use the stove, the microwave. So it's best to shut those down if you can. And if you can't, just get you some masking tape and tape over the doors of these items. Tape the doors on your refrigerator so you can't open and close it, because you're not going to be able to use anything in the refrigerator. Tape the door to your microwave shut. Things like that. Just tape everything up because you don't get complacent and end up using it. And while you guys are going this 48 hours, people are going to think that of stuff that they wish they'd have gotten before you started this. And you're going to write that down in your notebook. And you may not be able to make it for 48 hours. And I would highly suggest, especially if you've got children, don't force them into this. If they're not comfortable because there's not enough light in the house or they don't like the darkness, then stop it. Turn everything back on and figure out what you need, because you're going to try this again. Figure out what you're going to need to make them more comfortable. Talk to them, because we want to make this fun for them. We want to make this enjoyable. We want to make it a game and a habit. Because remember, like my wife and I, we do this every few months. But if you get in the habit of doing this one weekend every month, not only are you getting more and more prepared, you're also bringing your light bill, your electric bill down as well. But the thing is, we want to make children and other family members comfortable with this. That way, if there is a power outage or something, it's going to be no big deal to them. So don't force this on them. If you can't go 48 hours, fine. Stop it. Figure out what you need now to do this again and try to make it that full 48 hours. Now you've made it your first 40 hours, but let me emphasize one thing. I'm not saying keep everybody behind locked doors when you do this. The best thing y'all can do if you're going to play this out is be able to go outside. Let the kids go outside. Burn some energy off. You and the family go outside and do something so that you don't have your mind set on that you don't have the electricity, no running water. But I do not want you leaving your property. You can't be driving off to a restaurant somewhere, because what this is a test to make sure that if something happens, you and your family are going to be safe, secure, and have the supplies y'all need if you're stuck on your property. So once you go that first 48 hours, I would suggest do it once or twice again. Set up a scheduled date for you and the family to do that so that everybody becomes adjusted to that. And then eventually, I would highly suggest to try to put on a few more hours after that. Maybe go 72 hours. But the thing is, as you're doing this, you're also adding to the supplies that you and your family need in case an event should actually happen that you would go without electricity. But even setting this up for 48 hours, 72 hours, whatever you want to do during the weekend or when you want to do it, you make it a habit. If you do lose electricity, you do lose running water, then nobody's going to panic. Nobody's going to be upset because they're going to be used to it. You've practiced it enough to be comfortable with it. And during these exercises, think about the gear you need. I mean, if you're in a state or something that you're going to suffer through the cold, maybe you need to kind of use some spare money and invest into a small propane heater, kerosene heater, something that you can stock up on to keep you and your family warm for a few days. But the thing is, the more you practice this, the better you become at survival situations. And in the meantime, you add just a little bit to your grocery list each week. Buy a few more things to put in back of the cabinet. Keep your tanks topped off at all times. But practice for a lights out scenario and get everybody in the family involved as well. And continue asking questions.